Chapter 46. More Stuff Happens. A.N. Haha, you all said I was a bad writer, but now I've been added to Flit Strike community. Look who's laughing now. Me and Draco went over the wedding list with Narcissa and other people. So we're bringing Tonks, Hagrid, Colin, and Mad Eye too, said Sirius, looking over the list because he was the wedding planner and he was also going to be the best man and stuff. Yeah, remember we went pirate-themed, I reminded, as I had mentioned that to him before. We're going to have the Durmstrang students come out of the lake like they did for the Tri-Wizard Tournament, explained Sirius. Then we'll hold a ball on the ship and raise a pirate flag on the ship to make it awesome. And everyone better wear cool pirate outfits or they're not invited, I shouted amazingly. Everyone laughed, but they still took what I said seriously because it was very important. My wedding by totally ruined forever if one person showed up not dressed as a pirate. Draco romantically put his arm around my body and other stuff. My wedding is going to be just like I always pictured it, he said happily. I kissed him everywhere! Suddenly, Gilderoy muscularly ran into the room, looking scared and handsome at the same time. Something bad's happened, he said heroically. A first-year girl named Fanny wandered into Hogsmeade for no reason because she was a first year and didn't know any better. We all gasped, knowing she might get raped by the sexist people working for Sexist Cooper Advertising, like that sexist idiot Ron Raper! Chapter 47. A Plan. Note, apparently someone needing a lobotomy put my story into a community for bad stories and made me think it was a good community. Well, just so you know, my story is in 9 good communities, including Harry the Girl, Den of Shadows, Harry is Very Perfect, Forsaken Destiny, Forsaken Fate. What do you think of that? We all decided to rescue Fanny from the people who were bad in the town. We went into the Chamber of Secrets so we wouldn't be overheard. We took the big dead snake thing and turned it into a circle, and we all sat down on it and had a meeting. I say we just go down there and get her, said Gilderoy. He looked exactly like Robert Patterson! We need a plan, said Bellatrix. She was wearing white angel clothes because she was good now. That's a good point, said Dumbledore. He was naked, but his white beard was long enough to cover his ta-ta stick. We knew his beard was white because he was old. Here's a plan, said Gilderoy. We'll all go down to Hogsmeade Place and we'll split up and search for her. Excellent idea, said Dumbledore. He was still naked. Crystal should go with you since she's the chosen one and stuff, and she should see important things. Okay, said Gilderoy, but we better go now if you want to save Fanny from being raped by sexist idiots like that sexist idiot Ron Raper. Dumbledore whistled and Fawkes came in. We all grabbed onto each other's hands and Dumbledore grabbed onto Fawkes. Then Fawkes flew us up out of the room like in the second year. The wind blew Dumbledore's beard between his legs, so I couldn't see his ding-dong even though I was right underneath him. We landed in Moaning Bruno's bathroom, and we all made fun of her because she was a slut. She cried because she deserved it. We then went to Hogsmeade to save Fanny from sexist people who might evilly rape her. Chapter 48. I Save Fanny Epically. Me and Gilderoy went into the Honeydukes building, which sold candy because little children like candy. We saw a little girl there who was probably Fanny. She was wearing pink overalls and holding a bright orange teddy bear. She looked so adorable. I want the candy, she said cutely. You need money, said the woman who sold the candy and stuff and explained nicely. Fanny started to cry because she was a first year and didn't understand why people would need to give her candy. Suddenly an evil black limousine magically pulled up outside. Lucius Malfoy stepped out of the car. You want candy, little girl? He asked pedophilically. Fuck. Jump in the car with me. Then I'll give you 1 piece of candy for each clothing you take off in front of me sexily. Okay, said Fanny because she didn't know any better because she was a first year and little kids don't know anything except that candy tastes good. Not so fast, you sexist pervert, I yelled epically. I jumped at Lucius and Gilderoy made Fanny go back to the school by giving her candy. Then I beat Lucius up with Kung Fu Ninja Karate I was taught to us by Bellatrix. That'll teach you to be so sexist, I yelled at Lucius. Suddenly the limousine driver got a limousine thing. It was Wormtail! Chapter 49. I need Draco now! No! I screamed. Wormtail pointed his wand at me with his hand. Stupefy! He yelled, and a spell shot out of his wand and hit me. Everything went black and stuff. I woke up in a dungeon with female skeletons wearing slutty clothes. I had been dressed in an ugly bra with 2 pieces of ugly cloth hanging down from my middle. I didn't even have underwear on underneath the cloths. I looked exactly like Princess Leia when she was forced to wear the sexist outfit that Slugman in the movie. Suddenly a sexist guy walked in the room. His ugly red hair was sexistly slicked back and he'd given me secondhand smoke with his unhealthy cigarette. He was dressed like from 100 years ago or whenever Mad Men takes place. He was that sexist idiot Ron Raper! How dare you, I screeched epically. Ron Raper laughed evilly. You are now my slave, he laughed sexistly. You'll work as my secretary, and I'll only pay you 75 cents on the dollar because you're a woman and women don't deserve as much money as men. That's sexist, I yelled. Ron Raper laughed and walked away through the dungeon door and closed and locked me in again. I started to cry. How could Draco find me and save me from that sexist idiot Ron Raper now? Chapter 50, Sexist Cooper Advertising. A.N. Why do so many people needing lobotomies think I'm a troll? If I was a troll, why would I make a story make so much sense? Oh my god, I can't believe you just said that. I went upstairs to the offices. Ron Raper had built a New York building with glass walls and everything coming out of the top of the hog's head. My face turned red, and all the sexist men looked sexistly at me, trying to get a glimpse under the cloths while covering the remains of my dignity. I was so humiliated, and I could tell that a few women were sluts because they all looked jealous of the rape-filled eyes that the men were giving me. I sat down on my desk. I brought my legs together and covered my nearly bare chest with my hands, but I was sure I'd probably end up getting raped anyway. I was so scared. Suddenly, one of the slutty women came up to me. Hello, I'm Joan Horaway, she said stupidly. Don't be shy. You have an amazing body and you should share it with the whole room. No, I screamed in a dignified voice. You're new here, said Joan, as she sluttily polluted the air with her cigarette. I've been here a while, so I know the men will like you more if you give them everything you got. It's the only way they'll respect you. Yeah, because that's sexist, I yelled loudly. Men deserve to have beautiful things to look at, said Joan evilly. It's the only thing we women are good for anyway, and the more they like what they see, the more sex they'll have with us. You're a slut, I screamed truthfully. Suddenly, Ron Raper sexistly stepped out of his office. He was wearing an old suit with ugly slick-back red hair. I would like to see Crystal Potter in my office immediately, he said vivaciously, holding his sexist cigarette sexistly. I knew he would probably try to rape me, but I had no choice but to come. Real poor choice of words there. Chapter 51, An Escape from Rape. A.N. Wow, I didn't realize so many people had trouble following the story. If you're confused by the story, just tell which parts you didn't get and I'll try to explain in my next author's note. Also, Snape is the prince, not Draco or Ron. Didn't you see HBP when Snape said the words? We both know why you're here, Ron Raper said badly as he locked me in the office with him. I'm a sexist man with sexist needs and you've got what I need. A woman to rape for no reason! You're sexist, I screamed epically. Ron Raper threw back his head and laughed evilly. Take off your clothes, you cunt, he said offensively, if what you're wearing even counts as clothes. You sexist idiot, I yelled. Who would have thought you would have turned into a sexist rapist jerk while Draco would be the perfect gentleman? Now you're thinking like someone needing a lobotomy, laughed Ron Raper in an evil voice. Couldn't you see the signs were there all along? Didn't you ever notice how Draco stayed loyal to Pansy even though she was a slut while I cheated on Hermione with that stupid slut Lavender? But now I don't want Hermione anymore. I don't know what I ever saw in that stupid nerd bitch anyway. Ron Raper abusively pushed me onto his desk thing. He then ripped off my cloth sexistly, exposing my most intimate womanly stuff. I screamed scaredly. Ron Raper let his pants fall to the floor and stepped out of them to come and take a thing he wanted from me. I screamed again and kicked and punched him as he tried to get my most precious possession. Eventually, I had beaten him up with my Kung Fu Ninja Karate. He was hurt so badly he started to cry babily. Everyone heard Ron Raper crying and started to pound on the door to get in and rape me sexistly. I grabbed Ron Raper's pants off the floor and put them on to cover my bare dignity just as the door flew open with the Aloha Morha thing. Lucius was pointing his tiny wand at me. But before I could finish, I jumped through the glass and we started to hurl through the ground. I knew I wouldn't die, but at least this way I wouldn't get raped. Chapter 52. Someone dies and it might be Crystal. And how come so many people are confused by Harry being a girl? For the last time, just read the first chapter and it'll explain everything. Also, I know some people think that Gilderoy Lockhart, or as Flex Strike spelled it, Lockhart, is an idiot, but I made him awesome because he was played by the hot guy who plays Edward Cullen now. That's why I keep saying he looks exactly like Robert Pattinson, get it? The wind flew my hair around me awesomely like Pocahontas. Suddenly I heard an epic, cool-sounding voice. I turned to see Sirius was flying towards me on his flying motorcycle thing. I'll save you, Crystal, he said godfatherly. He went under me and I landed myself on the flying motorcycle with him, exactly like how Anakin caught Obi-Wan in his flying car in that awesome movie Attack of the Clones. He landed us on the ground. Are you okay, Crystal? He asked me in a very sexy voice. I couldn't help but feel a little attracted to him, even though he was my godfather. That meant us being together would be wrong. I was sure he probably felt the same way about me, though it was cool. Yeah, I'm fine, I explained epically. Then Lucius did the smoke thing and came down to us sexistly. How dare you steal Ron Raper's property, yelled Lucius evilly. He considered me Ron Raper's property because he was a sexist idiot. Step away from her, you sexist pig, yelled an awesome blonde voice. We all turned to see Draco manishly step in front of me. His aristocratic face looked so pale that the huge bulge in his pearl pants was huge. He looked even sexier than normal. How could you betray me after I spent your whole life abusing you, you ungrateful slave? Lucius shouted outrageously. Like this, said Draco awesomely. He and Lucius started to fight epically without the wands. Suddenly, Draco's pink and orange tie-dye shirt fell off by accident. Draco looked so sexy and mannish as he muscularly fought shirtless. Lucius tried to punch Draco in his sexy nose, but Draco grabbed Lucius' long stick and hotly stuck it all the way up Lucius's butt. Oh, said Lucius. He took out his wand to a spell, but Draco was faster. Sectrum Sempra, yelled Draco. The spell hit Lucius awesomely, but even with all the blood coming out of him, he continued to stagger forward to hurt Draco evilly. Avada Kedavra, said Lucius sexistly, but Draco jumped away coolly. I felt like I was melting with all the sexy sweat going down Draco's sexy chest sexily. And he sexily wiped the sweat off his sexy blonde hair and turned back to Lucius to fire at him with a spell that made Lucius be on fire. Get this fire off of me, screamed Lucius. No, laughed Draco epically. Avada Kedavra, he said, giving Lucius a taste of his own medicine. A body hit the ground. From that moment on, Lucius Malfoy was permanently dead forever. A.N. Notice how I used the chapter title to lead you to think Crystal would die, but then she didn't. Pretty clever, huh? Chapter 53. The ship comes out of the lake. A.N. Sorry I haven't been able to update more, but I have a lot of I can't even figure out how to phonetically say that. And my English teacher is mad at me for doing my book report on a Twilight fanfic. I bet she's a real slut with sexist teachers who suck. Story. Finally, it was the day of my wedding, and we were all standing next to the big lake thing with that awesome fish people I stupidly saved that sexist idiot Ron Raper from during my 4th year. I was wearing a brown triangle pirate hat, purple pirate coat, and a lovely yellow ball gown with unslutty cleavage and olive green platform shoes. I also had underwear on. I looked exactly like Elizabeth Swann. Everyone was there with me wearing awesome pirate clothes. Draco was wearing a pirate band on his head with hair things coming over his face, and he had an awesome fake beard. He had on a white t-shirt with a Han Solo vest and a big sword. He looked exactly like Jack Sparrow. Hagrid looked like Captain Blackbeard, but by putting on pirate clothes because he was already had a black beard. Hermione had also put on pirate clothes, and she dyed her skin brown, and she looked exactly like Anna Maria. Dumbledore was naked, aside from a purple pirate captain's hat with a white feather and hook over one of his hands. He was naked, but his beard was long enough to cover his golden spike. He looked exactly like Captain Hook after the crocodile ate all his clothes. Don't worry, Crystal, said Draco awesomely. We'll sue that sexist idiot Ron Raper for trying to rape you sexistly. Then he'll go to Azkaban with Lucius gone. That'll leave Wormtail in charge, and he'll destroy the company by being stupid. I think this is the beginning of the end for the sexist Cooper advertising. Yeah, if they send him to Azkaban, I said bitterly, thinking of how many sexist people were working for the Ministry of Magic. Hey, I have good news, said Sirius as he walked up to us. He was wearing a ripped gray t-shirt that showed off his sexy chest, an awesome old pirate coat, and an old-fashioned belt thing with stuff all over him. He looked exactly like Bootstrap Bill. What? I asked epically in my normal voice. That sexist idiot Gilderoy Lockhart died, said Sirius happily. He was in the astronomy tower, and he fell over the railing because he was stupid, and then he died when he hit the ground thing because he fell from such a great height and he was going so fast. It turns out he was very stupid and sexist, and he doesn't even look like Robert Patterson after all. I never liked that sexist idiot anyway, I laughed. Anyway, they're here! The Durmstrang ship rose out of the lake slowly. It looked awesome, and the dragon flag of Bulgaria was on the main sail like before. They had put on an awesome pirate flag on it and awesomely tore the sails a little so that it looked exactly like the Black Pearl. We all get on except that slutty slut Lavender because she dressed like Elizabeth Swann and no one's allowed to copy me. Hello, said a very sexy voice. I gasped. A boy was standing there looking so sexy I almost fainted. He was dressed like the dread pirate Roberts in a black unitard. He looked exactly like Robert Patterson. He was Victor Crumb! Chapter 54, The Wedding. The wedding started with Professor Snape dressed like Davy Jones, playing pirate organ music. Everyone started to do stuff. My bridesmaids were Hermione, Luna, Ginny, and Sybil. The maid of honor was McGonagall because she was old. Sirius was the best man, of course. Neville walked with an awesome ring Draco has given me because he was the ring bearer. He tripped a lot because he was dumb, but we didn't mind because he didn't mean to be brain damaged. Fanny, the first year I saved from that sexist idiot Lucius Malfoy, was the flower girl. She ran out of flowers part way through, though, and started to cry cutely because she didn't know what to do. We all went, aww. Victor Crumb came up to give me away because my dad was dead from Lord Voldy. I felt so happy beholding Victor's muscular hand as we walked up to the thing because he was so sexy. He looked exactly like Robert Patterson! Finally, the talking part started. "Arr!" said naked Dumbledore pirately. "Draco, do you see the wench to be your lawfully wed wife?" "Aye!" said Draco. "Do ye promise love, honor, and cherish this lass, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, for better or for worse, for as long as ye both live?" said Dumbledore awesomely. "Aye," said Draco again, sounding very sexy. "Crystal, do ye take swashbuckling buccaneer to be your lawfully wed husband?" asked Dumbledore epically. "Aye," I said proudly. "Do ye promise to honor, cherish, and protect him, forsake all others, and only hold to him?" said Dumbledore in a Caribbean pirate accent. "Aye," I repeated as my eyes swelled up with emotional tears. This was the most beautiful moment of my entire life. I was finally marrying Draco, and the wedding was just like I had always imagined. "Arr!" said Dumbledore nakedly. He was naked, but his beard was long enough to cover his inappropriate wand. His beard was white. "I now pronounce ye husband and wife. Ye may kiss beautifully." Draco kissed me. Then we opened our wedding presents. I got lots of awesome clothes, including a pink, red, orange striped poncho, dark brown parasol, a pendant with an orange-green diamonds, scarlet lingerie with olive-green polka dots, yellow okobos, a twilight tweed tube top, a red sweater vest with pink-green polka dots, and more! Draco got all the things he likes. Hamsters, honey, toothpaste, money, face paint, pliers, and bowling pins! He was so happy he did cartwheels and put that ugly slut Pavati on fire. She screamed sluttily and jumped off the ship and into the water, where she was immediately eaten by sharks. Suddenly a bad man flew towards the ship on a firebolt broomstick of mine, which he stole. He was sexist and he dressed like a pirate, but it was that sexist idiot Will Turner. He had evilly slicked back his red hair and he was holding an unhealthy cigarette. He was ugly and sexist. He landed on the ship and looked at all us girls sexistly. He was Ron Raper! Chapter 55. A Sexist Idiot Dies. "Go away," I yelled, because he was ruining my wedding by just being there. "I just bought Hogwarts," said Ron Raper evilly. "That retarded Ludo Bagman just sold it to me because he's retarded." 2 + 2 is 5, said Bagman retardedly, because he was retarded. "You idiot!" I yelled. I punched Bagman in the balls and he fell off the ship. The fish people immediately grabbed him, pulled him underwater, and ate him in 2 seconds. I felt bad about doing that to him because he was retarded, but he really should have known better. "I'll get the headmaster's office again," said Ron Raper sexistly. "Then I'll turn the Great Hall thing into a strip club and all the common rooms into whorehouses. Also, I'll replace all the books in the library with books about rape." "That's sexist," I explained epically. "I know," he laughed in an evil voice, "but the contract lasts until I die." "Well, there's only one way to fix that," yelled Draco awesomely. "Avada Kedavra!" he said, pointing his wand, and looked incredibly handsome and sexy at the same time. Ron Raper screamed cowardly and jumped off the ship. Then he started to cry because the water made the fire on his unhealthy cigarette go out. "That'll teach you to be so sexist," I yelled down at him as I picked up my fireball, which I had again because he left it on the ship when he jumped off of it sexistly. Suddenly the giant squid started to attack Ron Raper epically, exactly like what happened in Return to Neverland to Captain Hook. We all laughed at him getting what he deserved. "Smee!" yelled Ron Raper as he tried to get away. Wormtail, dressed like Mr. Smee, started to row a wooden boat over to Ron Raper to save him. "Avada Kedavra!" I said, using magic to kill off Wormtail so Ron Raper would learn his lesson. Wormtail died and the boat he was in sank. "No!" yelled Ron Raper scaredly as a giant squid pulled him underwater with it to eat him. Once he was gone, we heard a burp and that Ron Raper's sexist cigarette floated to the surface. We all cheered. "That sexist idiot Ron Raper is gone for good," said Draco handsomely, and with that thought he kissed me perfectly. The end. Who wants a sequel? Not me. Though that didn't stop Venus God from writing a sequel, but thankfully I am not going to cover it because it's just more of the same. Anyway, if you're expecting my final thoughts here though, you know the drill by now. This has gone on too long as it is. Fortunately, I'll be releasing a separate video telling you what I think about this story as a whole later on. See you then.